Okay, shall we? Right. Anyone turns oh, welcome. I am Katie Marshall 4340 or at Madcat79 Scotii on Twitch. Do online petitions really work? Somewhat. As you can tell here, there is many waiting for the MPs and the government to debate. You have to get over 100,000 signatures on them for them to be debated in the chamber. That hasn't happened sometimes because they're too busy or they don't deem it necessary enough to have a debate about it in the House of Commons, which is completely ridiculous. Over 100,000 people in the electorate wanted you to discuss this topic. As you can tell by this here, there is lots of. Basil have been waiting for slightly over a month. So here are the rejected petitions. This is ones that have reached the 100,000, I believe, and the Parliament has decided, no, we will not debate this. It is not worth our while. There will be legislation coming on later in the Parliament, which is dubious at best. Hold a referendum regarding digital ID. Hold a referendum regarding digital ID to allow the people to directly vote on such a massively lifestyle-changing policy. Why was this petition rejected? There's already a petition about this issue. We cannot accept a new petition when we already have one about a very similar issue. Hmm. This must be the one they were talking about. Government to hold a referendum on digital ID. We want this government to hold a referendum on digital ID as this was not as they claim in their manifesto. Manifestos are the greatest work of fiction ever written. Most people do not believe half the stuff that is in manifestos, oddly enough. Clearly outlined what ID will could be used for and what will be put in place to stop this or future government abusing the system. Why was this petition rejected? There's already a petition about this issue. Fair enough. We only reject petitions that don't meet the petition standards. That is blatant lies. How do I know that? The Timms review is happening. Hundreds of thousands of people signed a petition to stop them changing our benefits system and attacking the most vulnerable again. Hence, you saw the chaos in the House of Commons when they were trying to push this through, and they were staring down the barrel of one of the biggest backbench rebellions. So they hastily retreated. And now the Timms review, Stephen Timms, I can't quite remember what cabinet position he has. He must be, well, it was then Liz Kendall, but now at McFadden, he must be one of the junior ministers in the Department for Work and Pensions. He is doing a review to see the best way forward for our benefit system. I do not know when his review will be getting published. Do not worry, your lass will be covering it. So that one is, where is it? Did I check it? This one was rejected, but as I see, the Tim's review is currently ongoing. Okay, I did put something into my Discord. Didn't find it one. This from the Guardian at the end of September, so roughly over. Here. More than 1.6 million people signed petition opposing Stammer's plans for digital ID. More than 1.6 million people have signed a petition opposing the introduction of digital ID cards after Keir Starmer announced plans to make them mandatory for people working in the UK by 2029, which is the end of the Parliament. The petition says no one should be forced to register with a state-controlled ID system. I agree. Which it describes as a step towards mass surveillance and digital control. Petitions that receive more than 100,000 signatures are considered, remember that word, considered for debate in Parliament. It is entirely in their wish to debate them. And as you can see, they've rejected a good few of them because we don't matter. They do not dance to our tune. We are not their piper. Someone else's. But there is little evidence of their success in shaping government policy. Plus, second time they've brought a government's tried to bring this back. Third, maybe. No one wants ID cards. We do not trust the government as it is, let alone with this kind of power over our lives. More than 6 million people signed one calling for Brexit to be reversed. Digital ID cards presented an enormous opportunity for the UK. Starmer said that this was back in September on Friday, as the government grappled with a civil liberties row over the proposals. So maybe this will make them think twice about actually going ahead with this. I know working people are worried about the level of illegal migration into this country. The Prime Minister said, a secure border and controlled migration are reasonable demands, and this government is listening and delivering. That is debatable. Digital ID is an enormous opportunity for the UK. It will make it tougher to work illegally in this country, making our borders more secure. Incorrect. If they're asylum seekers, they don't have a right to work. They come in, they apply for asylum, and they go through the asylum process. This is just another form of control on UK citizens who already live here. But he argued that the BRIC card eh, would offer ordinary citizens countless benefits. Citation needed. Like being able to prove your identity to access key services swiftly. We've already got that. It's called a passport or driver's license. Rather than hunting around for an old utility bill. What do you mean old utility? Most people are paperless now, and most people's bank accounts are paperless as well. It's mostly digital. And we don't need that. If we needed a hard copy, which is mostly for government departments, we write to them and say, can you make a printout of this and post it to me? Civil liberties groups have raised concerns over the proposals, with Silke Carlo, the director of Big Brother Watch, brilliant name, warning the system would make Britain less free. I tend to agree. And create a domestic surveillance infrastructure that will likely sprawl from citizenship to benefits, tax, health, possibly even internet data and more. She added, incredibly sensitive information about each and every one of us would be hoarded by the state and vulnerable to cyber attacks. Yes, I do not want the government to have any more power over my life. And yes, people do hack digital infrastructure, government IT system, anyone. They've always went well for us, obviously. Addressing concerns over the government's use of digital IDs, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, said ministers had no intention of pursuing a dystopian mess. I do not believe her. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, said her party would oppose any push by the government to impose mandatory ID cards on law-abiding citizens. Save me, I'm agreeing with Kemi Badenoch. Ugh. The Reform UK leader, Nigel Farage, also criticised the scheme, which he described as an anti-British card. Quite funny. Writing in the Daily Express, he said, the Labour government's plans to impose digital ID cards on all adults will do nothing to combat illegal immigration. I'm agreeing with Nigel Farage now, this is wrong. But it will give the state more power to control the British people. So in some ways, this is a good thing. 6 million UK citizens signed a petition saying we don't want this. Stop with this legislation, and you know where you can put it. Should we carry on doing digital digital petitions, e-petitions? I believe we should, mostly on major issues like government overreach like this, cutting people's benefits, ones where the fabric of our society can be either completely changed or irreparably harmed, and we wouldn't be able to go back from it. This is one of those times with this legislation. Thank you for listening to this mad Scottish Marxist. Feel free to come over and see me.